The orbital station Erendor. 9 drifted along the edge of a distant nebula, its silver structure glowing faintly against the darkness of space. Gyps of different shapes and sizes moved slowly around it, docking and leaving in a constant rhythm. Inside the station lived thousands of beings from many worlds, each with their own purpose. Some came for trade, some for diplomacy, and some simply because they had nowhere else to go. Daniel Reyes was not an important man in the eyes of most. He worked in maintenance, fixing broken systems and cleaning areas others ignored. He preferred quiet tasks and long hours alone. Humans were still new to this part of the galaxy, and many species did not fully understand them. Daniel had learned that staying humble and reliable earned more trust than trying to prove himself. His room was small, barely large enough for a narrow bed, a desk, and a locker. Tools lay neatly organized along the wall, and a small window showed endless stars outside. After finishing a long shift repairing air filtration units, Daniel returned to his room, tired but satisfied. He removed his work gloves and sat down, letting silence settle around him. Artificial night cycle began, dimming the corridor lights. Most residents had already retreated to their quarters. Daniel poured himself a cup of warm tea and stared out the window, thinking about Earth. It had been years since he left, but sometimes he still missed the sound of rain and the smell of soil. Just as he prepared to rest, a soft chime echoed from his door. He frowned. No one visited him during night cycle. The chime sounded again, gentle yet urgent. Daniel walked to the door and opened it halfway. Standing in the corridor was a young alien woman. She looked exhausted, her posture tense, as if she had been running for a long time. Her skin carried a faint pale glow, and her eyes reflected worry mixed with determination. She spoke softly. "May I rest beside you tonight, human?" The words surprised him. He blinked, unsure if he heard correctly. "Are you all right?" he asked carefully. She nodded slowly. "I am not injured. I only need a safe place. Just for tonight." Daniel studied her quietly. Her clothing was simple but torn along one sleeve. She looked frightened yet composed, as if she had forced herself to remain calm.
He stepped aside without asking more.
"You can come in." She entered cautiously, looking around the small room with quiet curiosity.
Daniel closed the door behind her. "I'm sorry it's small," he said.
"It's all I have. It is more than enough," she replied. She sat on the edge of the bed, shoulders relaxing for the first time.
Daniel noticed how tense she had been. He moved toward the chair near the desk. "You can take the bed," he offered. Her eyes widened slightly.
"You give your rest place to a stranger?" He shrugged. "Humans help when someone asks." "Whoa!" She seemed to think about that for a moment before lying down.
Within minutes, her breathing slowed, and she fell asleep, exhaustion claiming her quickly. Daniel sat quietly, wondering who she was and why she came to him. The station held many powerful figures and secure areas, yet she had chosen a maintenance worker's room. Hours passed. Just before morning cycle, a distant alarm echoed faintly through the station. Daniel sat up straight. The alarm ended quickly, replaced by an announcement in multiple languages. The alien woman woke instantly, her eyes sharp with fear.
"They are searching," she whispered.
"For you?" Daniel asked. She hesitated, then nodded. Footsteps sounded in the corridor, heavy and organized. Without hesitation, Daniel moved a tool rack aside, revealing a narrow maintenance crawl space hidden behind a panel. "Hide there," he said quietly. She stared at him for a second, surprised by his quick decision, then slipped inside just as the door chimed again. Daniel opened it to find 2 armored security officers. Their armor reflected the corridor lights, and their expressions were unreadable. "We are searching for a missing individual," one said. "Have you seen anyone unusual tonight?" Daniel leaned casually against the doorframe.
"I work maintenance.
Everything is unusual. The guard stared at him.
Answer directly. No, Daniel said calmly. I've been alone. They scanned the room briefly, but did not step inside.
After a tense moment, they moved on. Daniel closed the door slowly, waiting until the footsteps faded.
He opened the panel, and the alien woman stepped out, relief visible in her expression.
You risked yourself, she said softly.
You asked for help, he replied. She watched him with curiosity. My name is Lyra, Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. As morning cycle began, light filled the room.
Lyra stood near the window, watching ships pass by. After some hesitation, she explained that she belonged to a noble lineage from a distant world. Political factions wanted control over her because of her position. She had escaped, but became separated from those helping her. Daniel listened without interrupting. He understood what it meant to feel trapped by forces larger than oneself.
What happens if they catch you? He asked. They will not harm me, she said quietly.
But they will take my choices away. Daniel nodded slowly. Freedom mattered deeply to humans. Hearing her words stirred something inside him. The station continued its routine outside, unaware of the quiet decision forming in his mind. He could report her and return to a simple life, or he could help her despite the risk.
You can stay for now, he said finally.
We'll figure something out.
Humans are kinder than stories say. Not all of us, he answered gently, but we try. Days passed with growing tension. Daniel adjusted his routine, taking longer routes through maintenance tunnels to avoid patrols. Lyra remained hidden, learning about human habits and sharing stories about her culture. She spoke of skies filled with floating islands and music carried by wind currents. Despite the danger, a quiet friendship formed between them. Daniel admired her courage, and she admired his calm strength. She noticed how he never complained about his work or his situation, even when others ignored him. One evening, while they shared a simple meal, Lyra asked, "Why do you help me without expecting anything?" Daniel thought carefully before answering. "Because someone once helped me when I needed it. I think kindness travels forward."
Cold. End of days. Brendan Bush. But by peace did not last.
Security patrols increased, and rumors spread across the station about a missing diplomatic figure. Daniel realized that whoever searched for her was powerful. One night, the station entered partial lockdown, doors sealed in certain sectors, and announcements warned residents to remain in their quarters. Lyra's face paled as she listened. "They are closing in," she said. Daniel felt fear, but also determination. Humans were known for resilience, for standing strong even when afraid. He realized that helping her had already changed him. He was no longer just a maintenance worker avoiding attention. He had chosen a side. "We'll find a way," he said. She looked at him with trust that felt heavy but warm. Outside, ships moved into position around the station, and unknown forces prepared to make their next move. Inside the small room, a human and an alien girl stood together, bound by a decision that would soon draw them into something far larger than either expected. And as Daniel watched the stars through the window, he felt that the simple act of opening his door had begun a story that would test loyalty, courage, and the true meaning of humanity among the stars. The station remained under partial lockdown, and tension filled the air like an approaching storm. Lights flickered more often, and announcements repeated in different languages, reminding everyone to remain calm and follow security instructions. Daniel moved carefully through the corridors, pretending everything was normal while watching every shadow and every passing figure. Inside his small room, Lyra sat quietly near the window, her hands folded together. She watched ships outside as if searching for hope among the stars. The longer she stayed hidden, the more she seemed torn between relief and guilt. "I did not expect anyone to help me this long," she said softly one morning. Daniel adjusted a tool on the table and glanced at her. You needed help.
That's enough reason.
She shook her head gently. Most beings help only when it benefits them. Humans are complicated, he replied with a small smile. Sometimes we help, even when it makes things harder. She was beginning to understand that human kindness often came quietly, without ceremony or expectation. Days passed and Daniel created a routine to keep her safe. He brought extra food from the station cafeteria and used maintenance routes to avoid cameras. Lyra spent time learning about human culture through Daniel's old data files. She laughed at some of the stories and grew serious during others, especially tales of sacrifice and loyalty. One evening, while Daniel repaired a small console, Lyra asked, "Why did humans join the galactic community when many species doubted you?" Daniel thought for a moment. "Because humans are curious. We want to explore and connect."
Even when others don't trust us, we try anyway.
She nodded slowly. That explains much. Their quiet bond grew stronger with each passing day. Lyra began to relax, her smile appearing more often. She helped organize his tools and even learned to fix small devices under his guidance. Watching her adapt reminded Daniel that strength came in many forms, but danger never felt far away. One night, while Daniel returned from a maintenance shift, he noticed increased security presence near his sector. Armored guards stood at checkpoints, scanning identities more carefully than before. He kept his expression neutral and walked calmly past them, though tension tightened his chest. When he entered his room, Lyra immediately sensed something was wrong.
They are...
"Closer," he said quietly. Her shoulders stiffened. "I feared this moment would come." "Do you know who exactly is searching for you?" he asked. She hesitated before answering.
A political faction from my world allied with certain station authorities. They believe controlling me will give them power during negotiations.
Daniel felt anger rise inside him.
You're not an object to control.
That is a very human way of thinking. He sat across from her, realizing the situation was becoming more dangerous. Helping her might soon require more than hiding. Later that night, a coded message appeared on Daniel's console. He stared at the unfamiliar symbol glowing on the screen. "What is it?" Lyra asked. "I don't know," he replied, opening the message cautiously. The text was simple. "You are protecting her. We can help."
Meet at maintenance sector
C-12.
Daniel's first instinct was suspicion.
It could be a trap, yet the message did not feel like an official security notice. Lyra watched him carefully. Someone knows. "Yes," he said.
The question is whether they are friend or enemy. After long discussion, they decided to investigate cautiously.
Daniel guided her through hidden maintenance tunnels where few cameras existed. The narrow passages echoed with distant mechanical sounds, and dim lights created shifting shadows. When they reached Sector C-12, a tall figure stepped out from behind a large conduit. It was an alien, with deep green skin and bright yellow eyes, wearing civilian clothing.
"Do not be afraid," the stranger said calmly. "My name is Varik.
I work within station logistics." Daniel stood protectively in front of Lyra. "How do you know about her?" Varik raised his hands slowly. "Because I oppose those hunting her." Many of us do. The political faction seeking her wishes to manipulate diplomatic outcomes.
Some of us believe she deserves freedom." Lyra stepped forward slightly. "Why, help me."
Varric's expression softened. "Because your mother once saved my people during a crisis."
"I repay that debt now." Daniel glanced at Lyra, surprised by this new information.
She looked equally shocked. Varik explained that security searches were expanding and that Daniel's sector would soon be scanned thoroughly. Hiding there much longer would become impossible.
"You must leave the station.
Barik said quietly.
Transport leaves in 2 cycles. I can help you reach it.
The idea felt overwhelming. Daniel had never imagined leaving with her. Yet he knew staying might lead to capture. After returning to his room, they discussed the plan late into the night.
I cannot ask you to come with me, Lyra said gently. You have your own life. Daniel leaned back in his chair, thinking deeply.
His life had been simple, predictable. Helping her had already changed that. He realized he did not want to abandon her now.
I'm already involved, he said.
Besides, someone has to make sure you don't get lost again. She laughed softly at his attempt to lighten the mood, but emotion filled her eyes. The next day felt longer than usual. Every sound made Daniel alert. Every announcement felt like a warning. As evening approached, they prepared quietly. Daniel packed only essential tools and a few personal items. Lyra watched him carefully, understanding the weight of his decision.
You are leaving everything, she said.
I guess I am, he replied. Why?
Because helping you feels right, and humans tend to follow their hearts more than logic. She bowed her head slightly, a gesture of deep respect. They waited until night cycle when corridors grew quieter. Guided by Varric's instructions, they moved through maintenance tunnels toward the docking sector. Halfway there, alarms suddenly blared, louder than before. Red lights flashed along the walls. They know, Lyra whispered. Footsteps echoed behind them. Security patrols were closing in. Daniel grabbed her hand instinctively and pulled her forward. They ran through narrow passages, turning corners quickly. His heart pounded, but determination pushed him onward. At last, they reached a small cargo bay where Varric waited beside a compact transport vessel. "Hurry!" Varric urged. "They are minutes away!" Daniel helped Lyra inside. Just as he climbed in after her, armored figures appeared at the far end of the bay. The ship doors closed, and engines roared to life. The vessel lifted from the floor and shot forward, leaving the docking bay just as security fire struck the space behind them. As the station grew smaller through the window, Lyra exhaled slowly, relief and fear mixing together. Daniel sat back, realizing there was no turning back now. The quiet maintenance worker had stepped into a journey far beyond anything he imagined, and as the ship entered open space, both of them understood that their choices had only begun to shape a much larger story waiting among the stars. The small transport ship moved silently through the dark ocean of space, leaving the station behind like a fading star. Inside the narrow cabin, soft lights glowed along the walls, and the hum of the engines created a steady rhythm that filled the silence. Daniel sat near the control console, still trying to understand how his simple life had changed so quickly. Only a few days ago, he had been a maintenance worker fixing broken pipes. Now he was fleeing with a hunted alien noble across unknown space. Lyra stood near the window, watching distant stars streak past as the ship entered faster travel. Her expression was calm, but Daniel could sense the tension beneath it. She carried the weight of responsibility even when she tried to hide it. "Are we safe now?" Daniel asked. "For the moment," she replied.
"But those searching for me will not stop easily."
Daniel nodded. He already knew that. The way security forces reacted on the station showed how important she was to powerful people. Varric's voice came through the ship's communication panel. He remained in the cockpit, guiding the vessel away from tracking systems.
"We will reach a temporary refuge,"
a hidden trade outpost where friends of Lyra's family operate. Daniel leaned back in his seat, letting out a slow breath. The adrenaline from their escape still rushed through his body. He had acted without thinking too much, trusting his instincts. Humans often did that, especially when protecting someone they cared about. Lyra walked toward him and sat across from him.
You left everything behind, she said softly. Your work, your home. I guess I did, he answered with a small smile.
But maybe I was ready for change. She studied him carefully. Humans are brave in ways that surprise me. Sometimes bravery is just refusing to walk away, he said. She nodded slowly, as if trying to understand that idea more deeply. Hours passed quietly as the ship moved through hyperspace. Daniel explored the small living area and checked equipment out of habit. He felt more comfortable when he stayed busy. Lyra watched him with curiosity, noticing how he treated every task seriously, even small ones.
"You never stop working,"
she said. "It helps me think,"
he replied.
She smiled faintly. On my world, leaders often avoid simple tasks. They believe such work lowers their status. Daniel laughed softly. On Earth, some leaders forget that too, but most humans respect people who work with their hands. Their conversation continued, slowly building trust between them. Lyra began sharing more about her past. She explained that her mother was a respected queen who believed in peaceful alliances rather than control. That belief created enemies among powerful factions who preferred manipulation.
They see me as a symbol, she said quietly, not as a person.
You deserve to choose your own life. You deserve to choose your own life. Your words carry warmth. Humans speak with emotion that is rare among many species. The ship eventually slowed as it approached a hidden outpost built into a drifting asteroid field. The structure looked old but strong, surrounded by cargo vessels and shield generators. Varric guided them into a concealed docking bay. When the doors opened, a group of beings waited to greet them. They wore simple clothing but carried themselves with confidence. One older woman stepped forward and bowed to Lyra. "You are safe here, princess," she said. Daniel glanced at Lyra, surprised. Lyra noticed and looked slightly embarrassed. "I did not want to tell you earlier," she said quietly. "I feared it would change how you treated me."
"You're still the same person who asked to rest beside me."
They were escorted into the outpost's interior, a warm space filled with soft lights and the sound of quiet conversations. For the first time since leaving the station, Daniel felt a sense of safety. Over the next few days, they rested and recovered. Lyra met with allies who discussed strategies to protect her from political enemies. Daniel stayed mostly on the sidelines, unsure where he fit in this new world of diplomacy and power. One evening, he stood alone on an observation platform overlooking the stars. Lyra joined him silently.
You feel out of place, she said.
"Maybe a little," he admitted. "I'm just a maintenance worker." She shook her head. "You are more than that. You saved me when others hesitated."
That shows strength. Daniel smiled slightly. Humans are stubborn like that. She laughed softly, the sound warm and genuine. Their quiet moment was interrupted when alarms suddenly echoed through the outpost.
Red lights flashed along the walls. Varric's voice came over the speakers. "Enemy vessels approaching. They have tracked us." Panic spread quickly among the residents. Ships scrambled to prepare for departure, and defensive systems activated. Daniel's heart pounded, but fear did not freeze him. Instead, he felt focused. Humans were known for adapting quickly in crisis. "What do we do?" he asked. Lyra's expression hardened with determination.
I cannot keep running forever. Outside, large ships emerged from hyperspace, surrounding the asteroid field.
Energy beams flashed across the darkness as defenses fired back. Daniel followed Varric toward the control center. Screens showed enemy forces closing in from multiple directions. "They want to capture her alive," Varric explained, "but they will not hesitate to destroy this place." Daniel studied the systems quickly. Years of maintenance work helped him understand mechanical layouts faster than most. He noticed a weak point in the defensive grid. If we reroute power through this auxiliary channel, shields could last longer, he suggested. Varric stared at him. Can you do it? Daniel nodded and began working immediately, fingers moving across the console. Sweat formed on his forehead as he rewired systems under pressure. Explosions shook the outpost, but the shields held stronger after his adjustments. Lyra watched from nearby, admiration clear in her eyes. She saw not just a helper, but a protector willing to risk everything. As the battle intensified, a decision formed in her mind. She stepped forward and opened a communication channel to the enemy fleet. This is Lyra of the Aare Kai lineage, she said firmly. I will speak with your commander.
What are you doing?
I must face them, she said. Running only endangers others. He wanted to protest, but he saw determination in her eyes.
She was no longer just a frightened girl seeking shelter. She stood like a leader, ready to claim her voice. The enemy commander appeared on screen, demanding her surrender. Lyra spoke with calm strength, refusing to be controlled and challenging their authority openly. Daniel watched, realizing her courage matched any warrior's. Outside, ships clashed, while inside, words became weapons of their own. As the confrontation reached its peak, Daniel understood that humanity's strength was not only in fighting, but in standing beside others when they faced impossible choices. And as Lyra spoke with unwavering resolve, he felt proud to stand with her, knowing that whatever happened next would change both their lives forever. The enemy fleet surrounded the asteroid outpost like silent hunters waiting for their moment. Outside the reinforced windows, flashes of energy crossed the darkness as defensive weapons fired again and again. Inside the control center, tension filled the air. Every person understood that one wrong decision could mean the end of everything. Lyra stood before the communication screen, her posture straight and calm. The image of the enemy commander appeared before her, a tall figure with cold eyes and a confident expression. His voice carried authority, but also impatience. You cannot escape forever, he said. Return with us peacefully, and no one else needs to suffer. Lyra did not look away. I will not allow my life to be used as a political tool. I will choose my own path. The commander's expression hardened. You speak of freedom, but your choices risk the safety of many. Daniel watched from behind her, feeling both fear and pride. Only days ago she had been hiding quietly in his small room, unsure and exhausted. Now she faced powerful enemies without hesitation. He realized that courage often grew when someone believed they were not alone. Barrick monitored the defense systems while alarms continued to echo through the outpost. Shields flickered under constant pressure. Daniel returned to the console, adjusting energy flows to prevent overloads. His hands moved quickly, guided by instinct and experience. He had spent years fixing broken systems. Now those same skills kept everyone alive. Outside, a massive enemy cruiser moved closer, its weapons charging with dangerous light. They are preparing a stronger attack, Varric said urgently. Lyra ended the communication channel and turned toward her allies. They will not negotiate. We must prepare to leave. A plan quickly formed. Several ships would create a distraction while a smaller vessel carried Lyra away through hidden routes in the asteroid field. Daniel listened silently, knowing what that meant. She would leave, and he might remain behind. He felt an unexpected heaviness in his chest. Lyra noticed his expression and walked toward him when others became busy. You are thinking too much, she said gently. I'm good at that. She looked at him seriously. You do not need to stay. You have already done more than anyone could ask. He remembered his quiet life on the station, his predictable routines. He could choose safety now, step away before things became worse. But when he imagined leaving, Something felt wrong. "I'm not leaving you alone," he said simply. Her eyes softened. "Humans are loyal beyond reason."
Maybe, he replied.
"But it's who we are." The plan moved forward quickly. Explosions shook the outpost as defenders launched ships into battle.
Daniel and Lyra ran through corridors toward a small escape vessel waiting in a hidden hangar. The roar of engines filled the space as pilots prepared for launch. Lights flashed red and gold, reflecting off metallic walls. Varric met them at the ramp.
"This ship will guide you through a secret path. Once you reach open space, allies will meet you."
"What about you?" Lyra asked.
"I will remain,"
Varric answered calmly. DJY.
"Someone must protect those who cannot leave." She bowed deeply, gratitude and sadness mixed in her expression. Daniel clasped Varric's arm firmly.
"Thank you." The older alien nodded. "Protect her, human. Your presence gives her strength." They boarded the ship quickly.
The doors sealed behind them, and the engines ignited with powerful force. As the vessel lifted from the hangar, enemy fire struck nearby structures, sending debris spinning into space. Daniel took a seat beside Lyra as the pilot guided the ship into the asteroid field. Massive rocks drifted around them, creating a dangerous maze. The ship weaved through narrow paths while energy blasts flashed behind them.
"They are following," the pilot warned. Daniel's heart raced, but fear did not control him. Instead, he focused on what needed to be done. "Can we increase maneuverability?" he asked.
The pilot nodded.
"If we reduce shield power temporarily,
speed will keep us alive." The ship accelerated sharply, dodging incoming fire. Lyra held on to the seat, eyes closed briefly as she steadied herself.
"You trust him?" the pilot said quietly.
"I do," she replied without hesitation.
Hearing those words filled Daniel with unexpected warmth. They emerged from the asteroid field into open space just as Allied ships appeared, intercepting the pursuing fleet. The enemy vessels hesitated, forced into defensive positions by the sudden arrival of reinforcements.
"We made it," the pilot said, but Lyra remained thoughtful. "This is not the end. They will continue trying." Daniel nodded.
"Then we keep moving forward." The journey continued toward a distant system where Lyra's supporters gathered. During the long travel, she and Daniel spent hours talking about the future. She shared her hopes for a world where leadership meant serving others rather than controlling them. He spoke about humanity's struggles and how people often grew stronger through challenges. One evening, while watching stars drift by, Lyra asked, "Do you regret helping me?"
Daniel shook his head, not for a second. She smiled, her eyes reflecting quiet happiness.
When they finally reached their destination, a peaceful planet surrounded by bright rings, a welcoming fleet escorted them to the surface. Crowds gathered as Lyra stepped forward, ready to reclaim her place, not as a symbol, but as a leader who chose her own path. Daniel stayed near the edge, unsure where he belonged now. Lyra approached him before joining the welcoming group. "You gave me courage when I felt alone," she said softly. "Whatever happens next, you will always have a place beside me." He felt a mix of pride and humility.
"I just did what felt right. That is what makes humans extraordinary,"
she replied. As celebrations began, Daniel looked up at the sky. The journey had changed him. He was no longer just a maintenance worker hiding in quiet corners. He had discovered strength he never realized he possessed. And as Lyra stepped forward to face her people, standing tall and free, he understood that sometimes a simple act of kindness could grow into something powerful enough to change the course of lives and even worlds. The stars above shone brighter than ever, and Daniel felt ready for whatever future awaited, knowing that humanity's greatest strength was not just bravery or skill, but the willingness to stand beside others when it mattered most.